Yo, call me Sonic Racing the way your wife. I'm tracing everybody. What's up? Welcome back to the Games Kids today. And only today, we are here to talk about Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. That's right. It has now been half a year since the launch of the game. So I figured I'd take today to just talk about how I feel about the game so far. Like what has been, you know, my evolving thoughts on it, the DLC content, the free update, what could change in the future, how it's doing, and everything about the game. So sit down, enjoy the video, and let's just lock in. So Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. This game, you know, about 6 months old now. And I gotta say, you know, first and foremost, no matter what, before we dive into everything about the game, I just gotta say, fundamentally, I still have a great time playing this game. Like, I still think this game is so much fun to play. Like, every time I go back into it, it has that addictive nature of like, I'll do one more race. Like, there's a way that the racing just feels really good that just makes you want to just keep playing the game. And, you know, obviously, now that it's funny, this is still out of, you know, Mario Kart and Kirby Air Riders, the only one of these kart racers that is giving you an incentive to come back constantly. I know Kirby is hosting like events in there where you can get, you know, like a little hat, which at least is something, but I feel like, you know, Racing CrossWorlds is the only one that's, you know, giving you characters and giving you, you know, new tracks and genuine new things for you to do in the game, which I commend. You know what I mean? For me, that is just something that I enjoy. I like being given a reason to go back to a multiplayer game. Like, I feel like the way multiplayer games were designed back in the day versus now are fundamentally different. I think now that because we're used to getting content over time and keeping a game alive, feels better when we do. That's why when a game like Mario Kart World or even Kirby Air Riders, you know, doesn't get new tracks or new characters or whatever, even though they were content filled at launch, it just makes you feel like, is there anything you could do to just make me get back in there besides liking playing the game, which, you know, is still good, but like having that extra push. So I still feel like Racing CrossWorlds is offering you that extra push to go back in there. Now, there are a lot of aspects of the game that I want to get into now that we've had a lot of time with the game, you know, had a lot of time with the gameplay, the problems that I want to talk about. So let's talk about single player, right? Now that we're half a year in, how do I feel about the single player? It's still great. I still think, like I said in my initial review, I still think that the Grand Prix is great. I love the rival interactions, the rival races. Now there's even more Grand Prix because like there's one set of the DLC cups that are out. So there's a full extra cup for you to do in the DLC route there. But I will say, you know, in terms of the single player content, after you've done Grand Prix and time trials, which I gotta say though, time trials still kicking, right? Like whenever a new DLC comes out, people are trying to get the S rank for some of these time trials, and apparently like the time trials are brutal. Like the S rank for Bikini Bottom is like a nightmare for a lot of people, and I kind of respect Sonic Team / Sega kind of going back to the roots for making difficult S ranks. You know, like I feel like the hard mode Shadow Gen S ranks were a little bit more difficult than usual, as well as, you know, even the you know, some of the Final Horizon ones from Sonic Frontiers, and now seeing these ones be difficult. Like I hope that this means for the next mainline game that getting an S rank will be difficult. You will have to lock in for that, and it won't be that Sonic Generations BS for like you just get an S rank easy. It was like that, you know, for doing the time trials, you got music. That was always like a fun unlockable incentive at launch, right? And you have the race park mode, which I do think that third mode, the race park, is the most tacked on. And I think what they should have done with the race park is I think it should have been a mission mode. Now more that I've thought about, I'm like, damn, that race park mode was like fun at launch where you can get some vehicles, you can get like the digital versions of the characters, right? Not even some, no, you actually just fight them. You get the digital versions of the characters via the Dompa tickets. But yeah, I do think just doing random CPU battles is not as exciting if like they just had a mission mode, you know, and I feel like mission mode is just underrated overall. And I feel like, you know, even Mario Kart World and Kirby both had it. Like, you know, Mario Kart in the open world, you can do random missions, and in Kirby Air Riders, you know, they have the campaign mode, which had basically just all these different missions you could do. So I do think that is the one thing Racing CrossWorlds is lacking the most. It's like a mission mode, you know, whether it's go through all these rings, whether it's a drift challenge, hey, drift for this many seconds, whether it's, you know, collect all these rings within this amount of time, like stuff like that, that I think they could still add to the game, but I think it's too late, is something I wish they would do, because then, you know, it would be cool if in every incentive for a paid DLC was, hey, this character comes with 5 additional single player challenges that you can take on. So that would be a fun way to, add to the experience a little bit, because so far a lot of the additive content has obviously just been for the online. And I will say, in terms of unlockables, right? It's funny, over time, they very clearly heard the feedback about the Dompa tickets. So Dompa tickets, getting some of the later character titles or unlockables becomes crazy. Like, you need a shit ton amount of tickets. It's very clear that they've heard that feedback, because now when they host like the game festivals, they're giving like hundreds and hundreds of tickets. They're like, please, like, get these, or like, you can do the Legends competition, you get a lot more tickets. Like, they want you to get these tickets. But again, man, I do think, and I said this since launch, like, no costumes is kind of like, it's a tough one, man. They should, dude, you know how many more people would feel inclined to play so many more races if there was a Dompa ticket shop, right? Where it wasn't just the titles or, the AI skin. It was, hey, you could unlock costumes. Hey, you could buy more stickers, like stuff like that, where like you could even get more stuff. They should just have a shop. Like, could you imagine a big year 2 update, or like, year update to the game where they're like, hey, introducing the Dompa shop. You have your now new location to earn new stuff via these tickets, new auras, new stuff. Like, that would be so cool. Now, granted, you could buy, auras and stickers and all that with tickets. But, if you had a whole sweep of new ones that you were incentivized to get, maybe even some unlockable characters via the tickets, right? It would make people want to play so much more feverishly online. But, we're talking about online a lot, so I do think we should talk about it. The online experience for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, it's been interesting to see over the last 6 months. I will say one thing that they've solved that they were dealing with a lot was online communication errors. I remember the first 2 months of the game, communication errors were a problem. You like every, I would say 3 to 4 races, you would get some kind of communication error. Now it is very rare. Like, it's super rare that I have a match where I get booted out of it because of that. They've ironed that out quite a bit since the launch of the game, because it was pretty bad at launch. I mean, I was fine, but I knew a lot of people constantly posting, I keep getting comm errored, I keep getting comm errored. So for the most part, I'm glad that they've ironed that out, right? I still think the game has a weird desync issue where you'll throw an item at someone and they won't like notice it. Now, granted, this is an issue in all of the kart racers. Clearly, like, there's some sort of issue with tracking, because I guess because they're high-speed games, it's a little bit harder to track this stuff. But for the most part, man, online, I still think is a really fun experience in this game. This is so underrated. I love the lobby. The lobby where you just spam emotes, your horns and everything. It's still so charming to me. There's something so like endearing about just entering a lobby with people, and like, sometimes you have those funny moments where everybody's spamming the same emote, or everyone's going hi with Sonic, or like get lost with Jet. Like, it's cool to have that sort of lobby synergy even when you're waiting for a match. But I will say, another issue I have, right, that I want them to fix is that, so when you're online, it's, letting you choose between the 3 tracks, it says random. Please let random actually be random. Don't let random be, hey, this is one of the 3 options here, because like most of the time within 3 options, I can pick one, right? So I would like if random was straight up, hey, I want a random course in the game. I think that should be what random does. But man, playing this game online with friends is still such a blast, or even solo play. I just like going in there. I like going with my gadget set. I will say that when it comes to the gadgets, I have experimented less and less. I feel like I've become comfortable with, my drift set where it's all in on drifts. And I feel like the initial thing that I liked about the game, which was, hey, you could try different gadgets, has become more of a meta. Now, granted, every game suffers from a meta eventually. Right, and there are people trying different gadget types. There's always going to be some ones in there. In fact, they actually added new gadgets like 2 months ago, which I hope they keep doing, because I want them to have like meta changing, aspects of the game. I want these stuff to happen. And we'll talk about the Legends competition in a little bit. But yeah, I do find myself getting very comfortable with my gadget set. But I will say, in terms of like the carts and the racers and everything, I've become a little bit more loose, where I'm like, I don't mind just, picking a speed car with, a heavy character, or a heavy character with like extreme gear. And I still like using extreme gear. I do wish extreme gear was more customizable and there was more of them. Like, I do feel like I like using the cars because it feels like there's a lot more I could do with the car in terms of, sticker displays and color options that make it look more distinct than like the hoverboard that's a little bit smaller. But inherently, it's a little bit harder to customize the extreme gear, since it is like a smaller thing or even to notice the things on it. And I will say for online, you know, I always, I enjoy the rank up system of the game. I think it could be a little bit mean, but that's most of these games. I do hope that they add like a new incentive for people soon. I know recently they actually upped the cap of the game. I think the game was capped at like, if you have 9,999 points, you're capped. I think they upped it to like way more so that people, if they just want to keep climbing the ranks, they could. But I still think they need to do extra incentives. I still think they should do win streaks, right? Where it's like, all right, hey, you won 2 races in a row, you get like double the tickets. Oh, hey, you were the lead keeper for 2 races in a row. You should get extra tickets, right? Oh, I played as this character 5 times today, right? Or like 3 different characters today. You get extra tickets. Even something as small as like giving the game dailies would be super cool. And I know, you know, some people don't like dailies because it's like, oh, it's the mobileification of it. But I don't know. I feel like if you did dailies where it was like, hey, if you just log in, play 3 different races, play as 2 different characters, and you get like 200 to 300 Dompa tickets, that's like something that incentivizes people to play the game. You know, they'll be like, okay, well, I just want my extra tickets because I want to get my exclusive character titles and skins and whatnot. Now, we gotta talk about the thing that they added and introduced to the game back in December, and this was the Legends competition. Now, the Legends competition, oh God, bro. Oh God. That was an experience, right? So basically what they did was they added a ranked game to the mode, like a super ranked game to the mode, which I appreciate. I want to say this first and foremost. I am so happy that this exists in the game because, you know, this is something that lacks in the other racers, right? It's just like, whoa, this like premium. Hey, this is, you know, where all the goats go, right? If you're real racing, you really play in this game, you want to participate in this competition and get the elite title, you know, of like, hey, you got emerald rank here, you got this, you got that. Like that in December especially felt super exciting. But man, this right here was when it really showed that this is still a kart racer through and through, and that mixing that with a competitive aspect is a little bit difficult, right? And I think we all agree, like, especially when the first competition came around, like, people were all using metas. If you looked at the top 100, it was people using like Knuckles on a hoverboard with, you know, the level 4 gadget set. Like there was a very clear like, hey, this is how you're better than others at this, because man, you were getting the sweatiest of sweats of all time. Now, granted, that is ranked in general in any game. You know, people always say, oh, people are sweating. Well, yeah, of course they're sweating. They want to win. People are playing ranked games to win. So, of course, they're going to sweat in a mode that is called the Legends competition. So, I understand that, you know, people are always going to play to win. That's just how life is, right? But it highlighted an issue with the game that normally you wouldn't when you're not playing competitively. You know, when you're in the regular race, like, all right, you're getting hit by items. It's an issue, but oof, dude, when you are playing in a ranked mode for a car racer, it's almost like the game is clashing with itself. It's like, all right, well, you're doing this Legends competition to be, you know, taken more seriously and make it so it's ranked. But then you have an issue of like, dude, some of these items are just not balanced. I still think the slime is one of the most cruel items in the game. The fact that it impairs your vision, you have to rotate to get rid of it, it gets rid of your items, it stops your speed. Like that's like 4 effects at once. That's not fun. You know, no matter what way you spin it, right? And obviously you have people, you know, using the drill in the back of the level to get all the way to the front. I think the laser is still a weird item where like sometimes laser will cut through 5 people, but sometimes it'll just be like, I'm taking a slow jaunt through 2 other characters, right? And there's an issue where like, why does the green glove item also home into you if the red glove is also doing that? Like there's just weird stuff with the item bounce that I think they could fix and rectify if they really, you know, locked in and heard the feedback. But yeah, it got hurt no matter what when they did the Legends competition, which is why it was cool to see that when they did the second Legends competition a few weeks back, you know, they banned certain gadgets. They're like, all right, let's try experimenting. All right, what if you guys have to use just the level 1 gadgets? And I gotta say, that was better. You know, even though, you know, you still have to deal with some of the bullshit that the game has, I do think forcing people to use the level 1 gadgets made people think a little bit more about their actions. You know, it made people go, all right, well, I have nothing broken. I got to work with what I have. And so now I really got to lock in on good movement. I always felt like people were a lot more closer in the races in the second Legends competition, as opposed to the first one where it felt like the people that were good were so far away from you and so good you were never going to catch up. Another thing that I wanted to criticize a little bit about the Legends competition is that I hope for future ones they offer a bit bigger incentive, because I will say, you know, what they offered the first time around were these titles that said, you know, like Emerald Racer, you know, Gold Racer, Legends competition, Platinum Racer. That felt like a premium title to have. In the second competition, it was like round 2 Emerald Racer, round 2 Platinum Racer, which I think is a little less, you know, I don't know, if like my reward is gonna be I get the same title, but it says round 2. It's not as exciting. At least change the color palette of the title to look a little bit different. Change, you know, some of the effects around it. Like something like that would be really cool. I think what they should do is if you got to Emerald or Platinum rank, you know, or like the top ones, they should give you a customizable title. That would be awesome, right? Like a title where you could, like, you know, mix up the colors in it and maybe some of the words on it. Something like that would be really cool, just to really incentivize you to climb to the top. Regardless, I think Legends competition is a great idea to have in there. You get that rage aspect, you get that addictive nature. I want to win, I want to rank up, ranking down, ranking up. Like, I think inherently it is great that they did this, and I'm looking forward to see how they mix up the rules in future Legend competitions. But also, again, I hope that they balance some of the items. But let's now talk about the free DLC for the game. So let's talk about it now. We've had the, well, I guess we'll wrap it to free content, you know? So like I said, they had the Legends competition, which is great. Festivals, right? Festivals, I think, have been some of the funnest aspect of the game so far. I think we all agree the festivals have been a way for you to be like, all right, I'm going to play this weekend. You know, I'm going to get those 1,000 points just to lock in. They very clearly noticed that people maybe weren't getting up to 1,000 points because, you know, they've now started doing things like, hey, boom, there's 8 times bonuses. Boom, there's 800 tickets you can get just for participating. So they just give you a lot more tickets, or, like, you know, points to rank up to the 1,000 points. Because I will say one thing that I think people have stopped caring about for the festivals is trying to get the top 1,000, top 100. I remember my friend Ultima tried to be the top 10 for the Miku competition, the Miku you know, festival that was going on, and that guy did not sleep. That guy stayed up basically 3 days to try to, you know, keep getting points and points and points, and that's just not healthy. I think what they should do for festivals is change it so that instead of being, you know, the top 10 points, it's maybe the top 10%, right? Or like, hey, you were in the top 5% of this, you were like at a certain percentage of it, because like I obviously, you know, these numbers are percentages at the end of the day, but you know what I mean? I feel like making it less grueling would probably incentivize people more. And honestly, I would even just add more titles, you know, instead of having it be, you know, all right, Miku Festival top 10 or Mega Man Festival top 10, have it be like, you know, Mega Man Master, right? Or Mega Man Icon, like stuff like that, where it's like, oh shit, like this is a cool buzzword that really makes me want to push to get, you know, a higher and higher score. So maybe a mix of how Legends competition works with the festival to get more titles would be good. But again, I am happy these festivals happen. I like that they change up, you know, every 30 minutes what events you do. I do wish they had more events in the rotation, but for the most part, I'm glad they exist. You get cool stickers, you get cool horns. I do wish there was a bit more consistency in the unlockables for the festivals, right? Like, I think a lot of times, you know, they just give you a PNG as the sticker, right? Instead, like, give me more art. Like, if it was like art pieces that I'd really want to put on my vehicle, it's better than, like, you know, default character PNG. I'm like, I don't want to put that on my car. That's boring, right? Give me, like, you know, unique art. Get artists to make some art for these festivals. Something that I love that Street Fighter and Tekken do is that they do these fan contests now where, like, you know, their art piece gets to be featured, you know, when you select a character. I think something like that for this game would be awesome. Do a sticker contest for the game where, hey, a bunch of artists try to design their sticker for the game, and hey, the best ones win and they get in the game, one for each of the characters. That, like, something like that, easy marketing for you, right? So that's something that I hope they end up doing in the future. But for the most part, festivals I still think are a great incentive, and they've been happening like super frequently. Like, what, every 2 to 3 weeks you're doing a festival? Like, that's awesome. That's fun. You know, that's something to look forward to. And, you know, I know a lot of people, you know, towards the launch of the game had criticism that, like, oh brother, like, I just want to play my regular games. Now that the game is is 6 months in, I don't think people are so hungry to play the regular mode that they're as mad about festivals anymore. I feel like now that it's like, now if anything, festivals are a lot of people's reason to go back and play more of the game. I feel like now people are like, oh, well, now that there's that's how I've become, honestly, recently. Like, sometimes I'll play it on my own, but for the most part, yeah, festivals have been my way to be like, all right, I'm going back in. I'm going back in there. And they've done a really good job at keeping people going back into the game. Now, of course, we have also been getting free characters to the game, right? So we had Miku, which I still think Miku was the best treated DLC character. She had a whole like project on Sakai or whatever, where they actually did Miku collaboration songs with Sonic that were in the game. She has like an actual unique outfit, right? She actually hums the main theme. She's the only one with a voice. Like, they treated Miku with so much love and respect that it literally makes every other free character feel lesser, right? But yeah, Miku I still think was a great addition. Joker, I think, is probably the worst of the worst. I think we can all agree Joker's model isn't the best. There's no voice. Even the stickers are just straight up ripped up from, Persona. They're not even like unique stickers for the game. Like, I feel like they could have done a lot better with Joker, and I still don't understand why the Sega characters don't have voices. I mean, this is your company. This should be the easiest get for you to implement in the game. There's like zero excuse, with some of the DLC characters. I get it. You don't want to deal with, voice acting, potentially different language stuff, and, maybe licensing in the future. I get it. I still don't think it's an excuse, but I get it. But like, your own characters, Sega characters, should be voiced no matter what. We had the addition of Ichiban and his vehicle, which I think he is pretty cool. I don't really see many people use him online, but one character that I thought was treated really well was Knights. Knights as the free character was really great. They got the sound effects right. It helps that, Knights doesn't really talk except in the Wii version. But they gave them a bunch of music in the game. They had unique stickers for him. Their taunts were great. Like, I think Knights was a pretty great free DLC character. And now we just had the release of Ai. And Ai, I think, is pretty good. Again, I think Ai suffers from the same issue where, like, his stickers and music are very much like, here's songs from the new Monkey Ball game, here's stickers from the new Monkey Ball game. But he is so cartoony and cute that, like, him being in the game makes the most sense. I like when they add like the characters that are very cartoony and add to the game. Like, Tango and Whisper are coming up for the game. They're perfect for Sonic. I felt like he should have been there. Knights feels like he should have been there, right? So I feel like for the most part, the free characters had been great. We do have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have about 6 free characters that we don't know about yet that are coming to the game, and it could really be anything. So far, it has been all Sega characters, which I think is good. Get that Sega All-Stars lineup locked in. And there's, with 6 slots, I think there's a lot you could do with Sega characters, and I don't even think there's enough, for all the ones you could have in there, because you could get Surge, you could get Tekka in there, you can get Chaos, you can get Infinite, you can get Mephiles, or again, you could go more Sega oriented. You can add BD Joe, you can add, more Jet Set characters in there, you could add Streets of Rage characters, Virtua Fighter characters. Like, there's so many potential options for different Sega characters they can add in the game. Please let me know in the comment section below which Sega characters or free characters do you think they will add. But yeah, with 6 slots, not knowing what year 2 content is going to be in the game, I'm super curious to see what they're gonna do, especially at the rate they're dropping characters, right? Like, Tango and Whisper are a duo bundle. We've got 6 characters. I don't know, unless they're only dropping 1 free character a month, which hasn't been the case in a while. I feel like we might be getting the announcement of more soon. Now, let's talk about the paid DLC for the game so far. So we had our first paid pack, which was the Minecraft pack. This was Steve, Alex, and Creeper. So you got 3 characters in the game, different types. And I gotta say, this pack was great. I loved this pack. I think the Minecraft course in the game is probably one of my favorite. I still think, the lap 3 where it changes, the floor breaks, and then you're suddenly in a flying area. I think it's the Nether, is super cool. I think that's a super creative part of it. The remix that they have in there for Minecraft is awesome. I think the Minecraft, like the cart vehicle, is so cool. It's one of the most used in the game because it basically has a flat surface, so you could actually display a sticker on the back of it so well. So I really like the Minecraft pack. I think overall, from the music, the character stickers, the fun taunts and everything, I think they did a very good job with Minecraft. And again, because Minecraft characters don't speak, right, it doesn't feel jarring at all for them to not have voice lines. I think them doing the little silly Minecraft noises when they're jumping around doing stuff is very fun. And it's one of those out-of-pocket picks that just works. And it's fun, and I think they did a great job with that pack overall. We next had the SpongeBob and Patrick, the DLC pack, which I felt like this was a little lackluster to me. I think the Bikini Bottom level is very, very lacking. I think you can all agree, right? I don't know. I would have liked more. I don't know, you know, maybe go through the Flying Dutchman's lair. That might have been really fun, right? Or maybe going through, you know, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy's lair. Like, there's areas I feel like in SpongeBob that would have been nice to go through. It would have been even nice to break through Sandy's house. Like, I feel like they took the bare minimum. Like, it's like, what, you go through the Krusty Krab, there's that robot, you know, plankton in the bottom, then you go through the water, then, like, there's a volcano shooting lava. It's like, I don't know. I think they could have done a way better job representing SpongeBob. I will say SpongeBob and Patrick's character models are super good. One thing that I really like about SpongeBob's taunt is this is super specific, is that he takes a second to like freeze frame in the air to do his pose, which I think is super fun. But again, obviously SpongeBob and Patrick are so iconic when it comes to their voices that, yeah, them not talking is insane. Like, to me, they are the worst offenders of the game, because like I said, the free characters so far, right, you know, besides Joker, like Joker doesn't even talk much, Ichiban is offensive, but Knight, Ai, you know, Miku are great. You know what I mean? And Tangle Whisper is going to be a problem because they just got voice, but it's like, you get, you know, to the Minecraft characters, they don't need to talk. But yeah, you get to SpongeBob and Patrick, whose whole flow is like, you know, I'm ready, woo, let's do that. Like all, like, you know, let's go SpongeBob, let's do, like, all the careful SpongeBob. That would be great. Like, having their voices in there would be incredible. I feel like it was a very bad move to not have their voices in there, but the music is great, and I think overall that pack was solid. It was a solid DLC pack. Now, Pac-Man's pack was also great. I think this is one where, like, the Pac-Man level is great. You know, you're in the outside area of the new Pac-Man World game, then you go into the arcade cabinet where you're following the giant Pac-Man. There's big ghosts running around. Like, I think that track is super fun. I think it's dynamic, it's enjoyable, right? It's a good Pac-Man celebration pack. Pac-Man himself, you know, a video game character, he suits the game very well. I like that you can play as the different ghosts too. That was really cool. I do think, you know, you basically get 5 characters with Pac-Man, but obviously it's technically 2. It's still pretty clever. And again, I like the music that they had for Pac-Man. But again, I will say, now that we're 3 DLC packs in, I think the DLC packs are lacking like one more thing. And it is the thing that I said in the beginning of the video. I think challenges would be nice, right? Like, if it was like, hey, this DLC pack now comes with, you know, 5 additional challenges that you could do with this character. So, like, all right, collect 100 pack dots within this time limit, or like, oh, hey, go through all the pack rings, like stuff like that, or like, oh, just drive through the maze, stuff like that. That would be really enjoyable for the core experience. I think would be good. But yeah, so far the DLC pack, I think overall I would say good. It's been a good with the paid DLC pack. Next up we have Mega Man and Proto Man coming out. I think they're going to be March's release, and then we have TMNT and Avatar. So that's going to be a good one. I think it's probably going to be, realistically, because we have 6 characters left, I think it's going to be the 4 turtles and 2 Avatar characters. I think that just makes the most sense to me, because the turtles are so different. You can't really lump them into one if you really want to show off, you know, their movements and stuff. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it'll be like 1 TMNT character and then they're gonna go 4 Avatar characters, but I doubt that. But I do hope, and I have a feeling it's gonna happen. We need extra courses. I think courses so far, you know, because each of the DLC characters have had a course, but we haven't had any crossworlds added to the game, right? You know, these levels are all main levels, but we don't have new crossworlds. And so I feel like they gotta eventually announce, like, hey, here's a crossworld pack. You know, we're adding 5 to 6 additional crossworlds into the rotation, and maybe they will be based on the Sega IP. That would be awesome. It would be awesome if you got mementos, if you got a Miku level, if you went through, you know, the streets of Kamurocho, right, from Yakuza, you know, maybe a cool IDW level would be dope. And a monkey ball course feels like it's like obvious, right? Stuff like that I just think should be in the game. More Sonic areas you could go to, you know, reuse assets, man. Let us go through Kingdom Valley. You have the assets. Let's go through Space Colony Arc, right? Like just use these assets that you have and just give us free Crossworlds, you know, just make some layouts, make it fun, make it enjoyable, and we'll have, you know, more stuff to do. But I will say, you know, overall, as time has gone on with the courses, I still really like the courses of the game, right? Like I think East Stadium is awesome. I still love Rainbow Garden. I still enjoy, you know, Water Palace. I love Wonder Museum. Middle Harbor is great. Seaside View, Apodos, like Colorful Mall. Like I still really like playing most of the course. Literally the only one or two that I don't like going to are stuff like the you know, Chow Park in there. That's not one of my favorites. And what's another one? And Radical Highway, because Radical Highway is a straight line. But for the most part, I get excited to go on the course. I enjoy playing this game so much. And I think that's how a lot of us feel about the game, is that it is so much fun. When you're playing with friends, it is great. I will say, there is something that I do think is missing about the game, and I think this would add so much replay value to Sonic Racing CrossWorlds that they have to do, and they need to steal this from Mario Kart World Knockout Tour. I have non-stop on my streams been playing Mario Kart World's Knockout Tour. This mode, if you guys don't know it, it's basically the elimination mode. You go through every lap, a few people get eliminated. They need, and I mean need to, add this to the game, right? They just have to. I think it's a must, right? Make it so that you have to go through you know, you literally have the portal rings. You have the mechanic right there for you. Make it so that it's, okay, a 6-lap rally, right? And then every lap, 2 people get eliminated, 2 people get eliminated, right? Or even make it maybe 4 lap, maybe make it 4 races, you know, every lap 3 people get eliminated, 3 people get eliminated. Like something like that would add so much replay value. One of the funnest things, you know, to do in my community is we'll play those matches, and the reactions you get from people when they get eliminated and knowing who eliminated them makes people visceral, but it makes people want to play more and more, because that rush of like, oh God, people are dying, I gotta keep going, is great. Like people love that kind of rush. So I am telling you, the CrossWorlds team, to Sega, if you're watching this, you need to just steal this mode and make something. Just call it, you know, the CrossWorld elimination, you know, where only the strongest of racers will get through, right? Or even make it, dude, make it customizable. Let me pick, you know, 10 laps or 12 laps, and each lap 1 person gets eliminated, right? Something like that, I don't know, would be really cool. There's a way to do this well, you know, maybe 6 laps, 2 eliminations each up until the last 2 are there and first place wins. Like, I just think something like that would be awesome. I also think a spectate mode would be really cool. There's a lot of times I would like to host a tournament for the game, you know, commentate, look at the best racers going through these tracks, but because there's no spectator mode, I always have to be in the race, or you need everybody to stream their POV of the game. So I think something like that would add a lot to the game. Yeah, I've yapped a lot about the game, but I will say, man, I still think this game is great. Like I said, I mean, going from Team Sonic Racing 6 years ago to this game, where like it's a game that is constantly being talked about, constantly being updated, constantly being, you know, evolving. I want them to add more gadgets, you know, to change the meta. I want them to add more characters. I want them to fix the decal problem, where like a decal takes like this much square size, even though it's like technically the sticker's like this small, so you can have more stickers on the vehicle, you know. Work on more customization. Give me more stuff to do. And I think this game will last a while. I know, you know, that the sales for the game aren't the craziest, right? In October, that it sold about 1 million copies, and we're assuming that now it's at about 2 million copies, but we don't really know for sure. It's not like they're singing the high praises of the game to the high heavens. Sega overall had a down year last year, but I'm hoping that the, you know, the feedback from the game, that people love it so much, it's still reviewed incredibly well. And again, there's still a strong community of people playing this. I hope that they continue to support the people playing this and show that, like, all right, man, by September next year or this year, this game is going to be a very different game. Just like it's already like a much more enjoyable game now, I think 6 months from now, with all the characters, all the content, potentially initial, additional courses, crossroads, everything, this game could be even better and just even more fun overall. But guys, that's gonna be it for me. Overall, I think Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is great. I do think some more problems have been highlighted over the, last few months with some balancing issues. Maybe not the greatest selection of DLC stuff, some of the voice issues, but for the most part, the game is so much fun to play, and I hope they continue to support it. So guys, let me know in the comment section below what you all think of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds 6 months in. Are you enjoying it? Have you dropped off? What else do you want? Let me know in the comment section below, and of course, I'll see you all next time. Peace out.